Nah, man, it really is. Like, worked in the game industry for 17 years. That's just how it is. When games are partially developed or not developed at all, trailers are just kind of guesses. Marketing departments, along with some help from the dev team, usually the concepting part, put together something that may kind of look like the game that they're going to develop. That's not a promise or anything. It's not even necessarily the game they're going to try and develop. It's just, this is the direction that we're heading, and maybe it will end up like this. Look at Final Fantasy VII Remake. It had a huge CGI trailer, and they changed everything from the way the game plays to the voice actors. And that was a real high-profile game. It's just people didn't particularly mind that things changed. Both Far Cry 5 and 6 showed areas that never showed in their final game. The Last of Us 2 outright lied to us, like on purpose, because they didn't want a spoiled story element. And it, too, showed areas that did not show up in the final game. Like, the people who think that early trailers are actually showing them what the final game is have no idea what the pipeline's like for game development. Reveal trailers are usually made before there are even, like, finished assets. They're made while they're still making tweaks to the system and the engine. And, like, that's just business as usual. It's because there's no way that you're gonna know what the final game is going to look like a year, 2 years, 3 years before it releases. You're still making the game. You're still deciding what it looks like. Everything else is just marketing, and part of that marketing is making reveal trailers, early trailers of any kind, just vague enough that people usually won't mind if the end product differs. If the marketing department does their job, then no harm, no foul. People just don't notice, play the game, and everything's fine. But if the marketing department does screw up, it feels like a broken promise. Look at, say, early Cyberpunk trailers that showed a graphical system that didn't end up in the final game, areas that didn't end up in the final game, plot hooks that didn't end up in the final game, so on and so forth. There is just no way to know what the final game is going to look like when you are making a trailer for it several years beforehand, because you don't know. You can try and make it look and play some way, but even if you have a very solid idea of how it's going to play in your mind, it's going to change, because once the work is put in, usually it differs in some way. Very few people in any art form can reproduce exactly what they have in their mind. And games are made by huge teams, so like, a director might have something in their mind, but the person who's actually coding it and making it might make it completely different. So yeah, early trailers aren't a promise. They're not even showing you actual gameplay. They're just giving you an idea of where the game is going. That's all. I've seen it in a million projects every year I work in this industry. It's just how it is.